one that has regarded to intimidation as relates to ethnic intimidation for high school students exercising his right. The reaction to him exercising his right has been most vicious. He's been called all kinds of racist names, even with the threat of lynching. And as we know, lynching has a real negative, a real severe connotation amongst African Americans. It connotes a most serious and dark period in our country's history. Tonight you're going to hear from his mother and father, the Axson family, and along with the legal redress chairman of the NAACP. I'm Michael Nelson, president of the Cleveland branch of NAACP. With me today is James Hardman, who is the first vice president as well as the chairman of the legal redress committee. You'll hear from him after you hear from Mr. Rodney Axson and his wife.
This is Mr. Axson. Young Mr. Axson will not be making a statement, but his father and mother will. They pay you for this, don't worry.
Thank you.
It should be.
Rodney Axson Jr, my wife Axson. Basically, the situation that's been going on has impacted our life to the fullest. I grew up in the inner city of Cleveland, and growing up, I went through a lot of things in my life that I didn't want my kids to grow up and have to go through. So, we moved out to Brunswick to get away from any violence, any other negative thing that was in the city. Moving out here, it seems like I ran into worst form of violence, racism. My son plays on the Brunswick football team, and he experienced some negative things being said in the locker room. So as he experienced those things, go out for the national anthem, he took a knee. So once he took a knee, he had a lot of backlash from it, to the point where we had messages sent to us for this lynching. Fathers calling him an ignorant end, and he's doing things to make the black race look worse than what they are. So to me, that's very serious, very serious. And I feel like no family should have to go through that at all, to the point where I fear the safety of my child, along with his sister. I have a 7-year-old daughter. She attends school out here in Brunswick. My life has been impacted to the fullest, where I'm now going to allow my son to go out to parties, hang out with his friends. Football games, outside his football games, he can't attend now because of the fear of what's going on right now. But I also like to say Brunswick police has done a great job of investigating. School principals, vice principals, athletic director, they've done a great job of their investigating. But just at the end of the day, I just feel like it's a terrible thing to have to go through. It's a senior year. He'll never get that back at all. So right now, we're living in a bubble. So it's just a bad experience that we're experiencing right now. We just have to fight and get through it and move on. And like I said, he'll never get this year back. He'll never get it back. Right now, we're just living in a bubble. We're living basically in fear of what can happen. And like I said, I don't have too many words really to express, how it is. I just hope no one else has to go through the things that my son has to go through. And with that being said, I'm probably the proudest father in the world to have a kid to be able to fight through what he's been fighting through and go through what he's been going through and still standing here strong and willing to stand up for what he believes in. You know, and as far as his academics, my son carries a upper 3-point GPA, highest on the football team. And like I say, he's been taught just to go out and fight for what he believes in and stand up for what he believes in. And at the end of the day, I say I'm just proud of my son.
Before you pose any questions, Ms. Axson may have just a few words to say. Do we need those microphones on her?
Should we just finish with I think my husband covered questions. Do you think?
I prefer that you let Ms. Axson.
No, my husband covered it.
You comfortable? Okay. Questions?
Sir, can you tell us what happened inside the police department just now?
Well,
Illegal.
we had discussions with the Brunswick Police Department, and they were very supportive. So we're confident at this point that there will be a thorough investigation. But I think this extends beyond criminal matters. This also involves the schools. And this should be an opportunity for a learning moment. And hopefully the Brunswick community will be stronger as a result of this. But we intend to make certain that the principal, the administration, even the football coach are aware of what happened. We'll conduct a thorough investigation and take whatever appropriate steps are necessary to make sure that this does not happen to other children in the future.
Sir, what would you like to see happen in this situation?
What I really would like to see is just, at the end of the day, all I ever ask for is fairness for my children. Just be treated fairly. And right now, I'm gonna go on a limb and say, for this football-wise and what's going on within that locker room, he's never been treated fairly as an athlete or an African American. Not at all. As of today, we still not have got any support from coaching staff, from the head coaches, head assistant coaches, defensive coordinators, and we had support from two student coaches and an assistant defensive coordinators. I'm the only ones that reached out to us.
Is your son currently going to school right
Yes,
now?
ma'am, we will attend school.
But he hasn't been suspended or anything? That's
No,
what I'm
ma'am.
saying. I just confirmed that not stated.
Do you know definitively who did that handwritten?
We have a strong suspicion as to who was involved, but given social media, there were a number of students that sent it out, resent it, confirmed it, and then subsequently tried to explain away their position. So the investigation will continue.
The police department has a good handle on possible suspects. Of course, we're not at liberty to talk about that because we don't want to jeopardize the investigation, but from our discussion with the police department, they have a real strong idea of the source of both the text about lynching as well as the profanity that was aimed at Mr. Axson Jr. And we're confident that that's going to be resolved.
Has this been an ongoing problem? It sounds like, I mean, is this not the first time your son has heard these things in the locker room?
I don't want to comment on that right now.
I think it's safe to say we are in America. And given the fact that we are in America, there are racial problems in America. We thought some 8 years ago that we had gone beyond that, but obviously we have not. If a community like Brunswick can have problems of this nature, and it wasn't the first time that something like this has happened in Brunswick, and I'm not singling out Brunswick, what I am suggesting is that we have got to use this as a learning moment and hopefully make certain that it does not happen to other students going forward.
You had just said that he hadn't received the support because he was never treated.
I say when I say never treated fairly, I mean fathers coming out and competing for a position that he plays, he wasn't treated fairly towards that. And yes, we have had meetings with coaching staff, athletic directors for 2 years, and it's still been the same thing. And you know, for 2 years we've been expressing certain things, and now it's like, okay, bam, it hit now. But 2 years ago we said these things. What was going on within the locker room or wherever it may be, and as far as my opinion, and coaching staff, you know, it's 90% white community with 1.3% African Americans here. On the football team, it's over 100 kids, and we have 4 African Americans on the team with all Caucasian coaching staff, which I have no problem with that. But all I can ask for is fairness for my kids.
You know, one of the things that precipitated this was on, I think it was September 2nd, the Brunswick team was playing the Austintown Fitch team. On that Austintown Fitch team are a number of African American players. In the locker room, our client heard 2 of his classmates make the determination they were going to refer to the African American kids by the N-word. He was offended by this. He talked to those young people and said, don't do this, don't do this. That offends me, that they persisted. Since that time, since making his concerns known that this was offensive terminology, he has now been subjected to the same type of language that he tried to caution those young people against using. The problem that the parents have is that the coaching staff, having been made aware of this, has not taken any definitive actions to, 1, discourage this type of behavior, and 2, in some instances may have rewarded some of the players by promoting them to leadership positions. This is a learning moment. This is a teaching moment where we should take this opportunity to explain to children, to young people, that this is not the kind of conduct that we find acceptable, and that this is a community, we're trying to reach that beloved community, and that does not represent, we don't believe that represents this community. We don't believe that kind of conduct represents this community, and that's why my clients are encouraged by, 1, that the police department is taking aggressive action, and that he's been hearing from the administration in the school in terms of addressing this situation.
So is your son still playing football right now?
Yes, ma'am.
He going to practices? That's going to be hard.
It's been real hard. You know, it's hard to go out and practice and have your mind together when you're dealing with so much. You know, and fathers like one of the kids that was involved in this or dropped the N-word, like you said, that happened on Thursday, they played on Friday. The kid that was involved in it still played in the game and was promoted to a team captain. And as of today, as far as the investigation went, I guess it was my son's word against his word, and I guess his word failed. To me, this open investigation, I feel like that kid that was involved in that investigation shouldn't have never suited up, and nor less been a team captain. So to me, coaching staff, they're just looking to say, oh, it's okay. And that's not okay. Not in my eyes.
Any further questions?
On the piece of paper that had comments on, can you talk about the background of that and how it progressed?
That's part of the
That's part of the police investigation.
Yes.
That's part of the police
Okay,
investigation.
so can you talk about the origin of it, though? How it started? Or
Well, it came as a result of Snapchat and a group text message.
Someone held it up and took a picture. No one delivered it to you.
No,
It was correct. And as far as you know, it wasn't necessarily a football player.
Well, it was part of the group text, the football team group text that precipitated it, and then the note with lynching on it was part of the Snapchat that we believe, and the investigation will probably establish, that came from someone affiliated with the football program.
We had several different messages. We had messages from football players, and we had the lynching come from outside of football players, which football players was at the party where the writing came from.
I wonder if you would be willing to just say point blank, a sentence or two, if the people responsible for saying all that are watching, listening, what's your one sentence or two message to them, point blank, the people behind you?
Well, that will be up to the authorities what happens.
No, but your message to them isn't far.
He will want the people that were responsible to take responsibility, to use this as a learning moment, and also for the people in positions of authority to recognize their responsibility, which will include implementing the anti-bullying policy, making certain that a report is made because this is an incident of bullying. And if criminal charges are actually filed, and we don't know if they will be or not, but we would hope that there will be a vigorous recognition that this type of activity is not permitted, so that hopefully all students, not just Brunswick students, but all students will get the message and make this a kinder, gentler community for all people.
I think you can see from the physical appearance of my clients, this is taking a tremendous emotional toll on them. I know Mom had something to say. Mom, you want to make a comment?
I don't even recall what it was.
It was probably something good, though, right?
I'm sure.
But as you can tell, this is a very emotional moment for
Well, Mom was actually prompted by Dawn. What would your message be
Yes.
to the people who,
That's it.
right, Dawn, who said this?
Yeah, just point blank, what do you want them to know? That I guess the only thing I would like to say is if they address the issues and stop ignoring it, that at least people would not feel comfortable writing and posting things of that nature. You can't change what a person feels, but it has to start with them understanding that you can't post that. You can't. It's not okay to say it. It's not okay to write it, and it's definitely not okay to put it on social media. At that point, what are you doing to him? What was that set out to do for this young man?
Mom also had a concern about how a kid can become comfortable with posting this and then reposting it. I think that was another concern.
I mean, you know, when it goes on social media, it's everywhere. How many people see it? How many people? So, if you're comfortable enough to put that out there, what are the parents have to look at? What am I doing at home that my child is comfortable enough to want to do this to another child? Because you know what that's going to do to him. How many people are going to see this? How many people are looking at that? And what does that say for him? If everyone thinks like that. But that's all. We have to start at home. And we've worked hard to raise a well-rounded young man. He doesn't see color. He doesn't see ethnicity. He sees people. He sees people, period, point blank. And I think that's what we all need to be able to understand and see. We didn't move to Brunswick and say we live in a Caucasian community. We moved to Brunswick and said we live in a good community with a good education system. That was our thing. They made him see that he was black. They made him realize you are black and you are different than us. And that for me is a problem as a parent, because the parents is where it's all coming from. That's where it's stemming from.
Has Rodney's status on the depth chart changed during this last 2 weeks? Or the number of reps you're getting? Or could you talk about that coach's promotion?
That's another conversation. That's another conversation.
And don't want to take away from, don't want to divert attention from the serious nature of this ethnic intimidation and racial and offensive language that deal with the secondary issues.
I guess I was wondering if institutionally within the team, as this
The status is the same. The status is the same. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all.
You have one question?
What was your name?
Danielle Axson. Danielle.
Is that D-A-N-I-E?